Hello, welcome to my channel, Crafty Fox DIYs. This video is part of the 12 Days of Christmas, and today's theme is Christmas songs. The hosts of the 12 Days of Christmas are Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY and Jackie from Crafting and Mimi's World. I will have links to their channels as well as a link to the playlist down in the description box below. Okay, let's get into it. For this first DIY, I am making a Let It Snow sign. I have this snowflake that I got for 50 cents at Dollar Tree. And then I have these ornaments that I painted a couple years ago. These have little snowmen on them. I'm going to be using those and also this snowflake jingle bell ornament. And then I have a piece of wood. This is about 6 inches by 3.5 inches. I'm just going to paint the snowflake white. It's just white acrylic paint by Apple Barrel. And I'm going to give it a good coat all over. Actually give it 2 good coats. And I also paint the sides and all in between, all of the crevices and all of that. And then my board, I'm going to paint it black. And the reason I chose the color black is because the background on my snowman ornaments that I painted is also black. Now I'm taking some Mod Podge after my paint has dried, and I'm going to give a thin layer onto my snowflake. And then I'm going to sprinkle on both white iridescent glitter and silver iridescent glitter. And now I have some letters that I cut out on my Cricut. It says Let It Snow, and I'm going to put that onto my black board. I'm keeping that. You see, I took my vinyl and stuck it on the side just in case I had to use it for a stencil, but it turned out fine. I'm using some painter's tape to transfer my letters over. I just stick it to my apron to remove some of the stickiness. I use my little tool there to make sure that everything's sticking down. The dot for my eye was giving me a fit, but I finally got it. And then I just stick it down. I leave the bottom part of my letters sticking out so that way I can see where to line it up because it's hard to see through the painter's tape. Then I just carefully peel off the painter's tape, leaving the letters behind. And now I have these styrofoam snowflakes, and I'm going to glue those onto my sign. I'm also going to put some Mod Podge onto them, and I'm going to put little dots of Mod Podge on my sign. I've done the ornaments the same way that I'm doing this. I put little dots of Mod Podge on and then sprinkled on glitter. And so I'm doing the same thing to the sign here. That way everything, matches, And then I'm going to spread out the Mod Podge on my snowflakes, sprinkle on the glitter, shake it around real good. And now I have this garland that I am going to use to hang the snowman ornaments. And I think this garland is just a little too fluffy, so I'm going to trim that down some before I hot glue it onto my snowflake. Then I just turn my snowflake over and glue those garland pieces onto a couple of the, I don't know what else to call them, I'm going to say branches of my snowflake, and I'm going to glue the Jingle Bell snowflake ornament on there also. Then I'm going to turn it back over and glue my snowman ornaments to the bottom of the garland that's hanging down. And that's how that looks. Okay, now I'm just going to use a gob of hot glue here and glue my sign into the middle of the snowflake. And there that is. Okay, for DIY number 2, I have this little guitar here and some other embellishments, and we're going to make a door hanger for Jingle Bell Rock. And I have this pretty ribbon, I have some other embellishments, and this is what I'm going to be using to make a tag that's going to say Jingle Bell Rock. There is some other wording at the top of this picture here with music on it. What do they call it? Sheet music. And I don't want that on there. I want it to say Jingle Bell Rock instead. So I painted it with the beige color, then went over it with white. And now I'm putting some Mod Podge onto a thick piece of cardboard that was white. It was already white. I didn't need to paint it. and I'm just Mod Podging it on there, and I'm going to go around and make sure all of the edges are stuck down. And then I'm going to take my scissors and cut around. Now, whenever this sheet of sheet music with the wreath on there wasn't like this already, I tore the edges, and I'll show you how I tear the edges in the next DIY in this video. And then I took my sanding block there and just made sure that there weren't any sharp edges on the cardboard. Now I'm taking some antique wax, and I'm going to go all around the edges and across the top just to distress the tag a little bit. Now I also have my vinyl letters here. It says Jingle Bell Rock. I had never put vinyl on paper before, and it wasn't working out well, so I'm going to cut that part out, and I'm going to show you what I ended up having to do was just take the letters and stick them onto my tag sign. Now I'm going to tie a giant bow on here. I'm going to put my ribbon on with the pretty side facing me, and then I'm just going to tie a shoestring bow. I want nice big loops on here. So I'm going to pull those out, and then I want to have another set of loops, so I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to thread it back through the knot. And then whenever I pull it, I'm just going to leave enough sticking out so that there are 2 loops. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just thread my tail through and then leave enough for another loop. And then to secure everything, because it is going to be hard to get a tight knot, I'm using some hot glue to just secure and make sure everything stays in place. And then I have this pick that I got on clearance at Family Dollar last year. There's a little drum, a glitter pine cone, and a little present on there. And I'm putting that up underneath the bow, and then hot gluing it into place to make sure it stays right where I want it. Now I'm going to take my scissors and poke a hole in the top of the tag that I made. And then I'm going to take a paintbrush to round the hole off, just so it looks neater. If you have a hole punch, that would be even better. And I'm going to take some red and white baker's twine, and I'm going to thread that through my hole. I'm going to tie a knot in it right at the top of my tag, and then I'm going to tie my tag onto my guitar. I'm going to tie it around my flower pick there. And then once I get that tied off, then I'll just cut off the extra baker's twine. Then I have these little jingle bells. They're on a wire, and I'm going to thread that wire. It's like paper wrapped wire. And I'm going to thread that through the hole in the tag also and hang it from it. And there that one is. Okay, now for DIY number 3, I am going to be making a sort of a lantern. Y'all know I love my lanterns. And I have this giant Nescafe jar that I'm going to be using, and then I had this pretty scrapbook paper here with sheet music with a tree around it. I also have different greenery and all of that, and the color that I'm going to be using on my lantern is Moss by Waverly Chalk Paints. Now I'm taping off the jar where I don't want any paint to get on. I don't want any underneath where the lid goes back on, and then I don't want any on the front where my picture is going to go. So I'm just taping it off, following the contours of the shape of the jar. And then I'm going to paint the jar with the chalk paint. Like I said, this is Moss by Waverly. I think it matches with the scrapbook paper very well. So that's why I chose this color, and I'm going to give it 3 coats. It took about 3 coats for me to get the coverage that I wanted. Then I just take the painter's tape off, and then I'm going to cut around the tree, but I'm leaving a space so that way I have room to tear. So I didn't cut it, right off even. You can see how I'm doing. I'm going around and just carefully tearing the edge all the way around my image. Then once that's done, I'm going to put a thick coat of Mod Podge on the jar. See how thick that is? Then I'm going to put my tree down. I'm going to be careful to not get any Mod Podge on the top because I don't want any glitter on it. I just want the glitter on the side. Now some of the Mod Podge ran down, so I'm using my finger to cover it, so that way the glitter doesn't go on down to there, because I don't want it on the sides like where the green is. I just want it where there is no paint. So that's why I'm doing it like that. And then, doing the whole thing. And now I'm going to cover the whole thing in Mod Podge just to make sure that the paint is protected. Then I have this string of fairy lights that I am going to put down inside of the jar, and I'm going to glue the battery pack to the side on the inside. I thought about gluing it to the lid, but these lights have a short in them, and once I get them in place, they're fine, but whenever they're moved, they want to short out. So I decided that the best thing to do was to glue it to the side, and then that way they're not being disturbed, other than to turn them off and on. Now I'm going to decorate my lid. So I'm just taking some of this pine garland. I believe this came from Dollar Tree, and I am going to just put like a wreath around the top. I have some more garland, or some more greenery here that I'm going to glue onto the bottom of the lid. And then also some pine cones. I have a couple different kinds. And I glued some berries on there. I have to get my jar and get some more pine cones out, or my ice cream bucket, and glue those on. I chose a different kind. Those were a different color. And then I wanted to put this poinsettia on there, but it was wanting to lean backward, so I decided to put another piece of the garland on there, so that way the poinsettia will lay the way that I want it to, just like that. And then I'm going to take some Mod Podge and put it on to the pine cone, the berries, and the greenery, the flower, the poinsettia, and then sprinkle on some of the white iridescent glitter. And there that is. I love it. Okay, let's take one final look at all of these projects. Okay, that's all for this video. Let me know what you think of these Christmas song DIYs. Be sure to check the description box for links to the hosts' channels, as well as a link to the playlist, so that you can get all kinds of Christmas song DIY inspiration. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.